The Sheepshead will be here in Pensacola Bay in about 3 weeks, so I thought I would show you guys what I'm doing to make rigs for fishing around the rocks on the jetty over there. Now, if you're like me, you need about 5 hands to tie a dropper loop without some assistance, and since I only have 2, I thought I'd also show you the jig I've got set up here for tying trouble-free dropper loops, which I'm going to need on this rig. Now, I didn't invent this by any means. You can find these and other videos on YouTube. What you're looking at is a 3-foot wide shelf board, a cheap one, only cost a couple of bucks. And on it, you see the way I've got these screws set up. What they are is 3-inch deck screws. Drilled them through the board and mounted them. Ground off the tips on them so that they don't hang up on the bottom on anything. And then put shrink wrap on the threads so that I don't tear up whatever it is I'm tying. Now, I've got 2 triangles in the center, and the 2 triangles, the inner one and the outer one, are so I can make different size dropper loops, although just about all the time I just use the inner triangle to make it with. The screws are about 8 inches apart on the inner triangle. Okay? Now, I'll show you how this works. Really simple. Anybody can tie one of these. Now what I'm going to do, over here on this end, I would normally, if I was making a double dropper loop for wreck fishing, I would tie a loop knot and put it on the first post over here. But since I'm not tying anything on that yet, I'm going to clamp it in place. Now what I'm using is 80-pound braid so you can see what I'm doing. And you can see how I'm going to wrap it around the triangle, come over to the end screw, and then just wrap it around that. Okay, now I'll take these 2 pieces of line and I'll start twisting them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll maintain this gap between the 2 lines in the center. Pull the end off the top, pass it through the gap, and pull it back around, like so. I'm going to take this end loose, put it back over the post, pull this end off, and tighten that down. There it is. How easy is that? Dropper loop made. Nothing to it. Now, I'm going to cut this loose. Okay, right, there's my dropper loop. Now I'm going to go cut the end that goes toward the rod, and on this end I'll just tie a swivel. Nothing to that, use whatever terminal knot you like. On the dropper loop I'm going to snell a number 4 octopus hook. I'm especially going to do it if I can get this 80-pound through this eye. Well, you don't need to see that anyway. Alright, now we're going to go down to the other end where I would normally tie a loop for a sinker. And the way this thing works is pretty simple. First, I'm going to take the sinker end of the leader. Normally, this would be 30-pound monofilament. And I'm going to tie a double overhand knot. And what this is going to do, a double overhand granny knot, what this is going to do is it's going to serve as a stop knot once and twice. You put it through and you pull that double overhand down. Now watch it flip over into a figure 8 and stop. Alright, then I've got some 20-pound red monofilament here so you can see what's going on. And normally, like I said, this would be 30-pound monofilament leader. And I'm going to tie a 10-pound mono extension to it. Now, I got the figure 8 from the double overhand knot. I'm going to feed this through the figure 8. This is very similar to tying a figure 8 loop knot. I'm going to feed the what would be 10-pound mono and it enters the figure 8 and leaves the figure 8 the same way that the standing line does. I'm going to feed that through, pull some slack through the figure 8. Now I'm going to tighten the figure 8 up a little bit, and I'm going to take the 10-pound mono, and I'm just going to tie a uni knot with about 6 turns. I'll just put 4 turns on it. This is 20 pound. But with 10 pound, I'd probably tie 6 or 7 turns on it. Now I'm going to snug that down and pull them together. Sort of like tying a uni to uni, but this is easier. And you can see how that stop knot with that double overhand knot works on this 80-pound braid, what would be my 30-pound, okay? Now I'm going to clip that off. Okay, so now on the bottom end of the leader, I've got what would be a 30-pound mono leader here with a drop loop and a swivel up top. And I've converted the leader to what's 10-pound mono. Now, I'll take that and I'll tie a surgeon's loop on the end of it. And this is where things happen in the rocks. Alright, there's a double surgeon's loop. Now, I've got a surgeon's loop on the end, on the sinker end of my leader. Now what I'll use this is a half-ounce walking sinker. And you can buy these in bulk. If you look on eBay and find Sam's Sinkers, you'll find great deals on sinkers. And I'll just push the loop through, flip it around, and there it is. So now I've got a 30-pound leader, but my sinker is attached with 10-pound mono. So if this sinker, first of all, this sinker doesn't get hung up in the rocks much, but you are going to lose one occasionally. Normally you come up and it stops and you just hop it over whatever's in your way. You can see how it drags along. At any rate, if I get hung up, or when I get hung up in the rocks, I just give it a hard yank and break this 10-pound line. Normally it'll break somewhere above the line like so. Now I pull my rig back in, and let's see, where did the thing go? There it is. Now I'll go to a drop shot sinker. I've got some 10-pound line left, and I'll just feed it up through here, give it a yank, and now it's got the drop shot on the end of it, and go back to fishing. Takes a few seconds, and as long as I've got a little 10-pound test left, I can do this all day. Normally takes about 3-4 sinkers sometimes before I finally have to tie on another rig. Now, this isn't a rig I want to sit and tie on the boat. I just sit with my jig here and tie up rigs while I'm watching the TV, ESPN or something. Anyway, this seems to work really well. I don't get hung up near as often because, as you can see from where the dropper loop is, the hook and the bait are suspended above this weight. It's monofilament, so that line floats a little bit and tends to keep it up out of the rocks, and that's all the good for me. And as long as I can keep changing sinkers without changing the line, I'm not losing any time fishing. Anyhow, that's what's been working for me. I hope this is some help. Make your own dropper loop jig. You'll love having it if you tie a lot of dropper loops. Say that 3 times real fast. And that's it for today. Thanks.